Welcome to Massive Passive Cash Flow, the podcast that guides professionals to financial prosperity. Join our community and let's start building your wealth. Here's your host, Gary Wilson.
Hello, and welcome to this week's Massive Passive Cash Flow podcast. This is Gary Wilson, your host. Glad to have you back. If you haven't already done so, would you mind go ahead and subscribe to the podcast? It's on, of course, 30 different channels now: Stitcher, iTunes, iHeartRadio, all the big ones. And welcome aboard for all of our foreign listeners. I believe we have listeners now in 50 or more countries. So it's an honor and privilege to be able to serve you this way. We have a great guest today. I'll introduce in a moment. His name is Ivan Ans. And I think you're going to love this subject. So before we do that, though, I just wanted to remind you also, if you haven't been to the website recently, go ahead and visit realestatewithgarywilson.com. You can click on the members area. It's on the top of the first page. And if you can even grab 5 different books off the homepage, five little tutorials. But if you go into the members area, this is the great thing here. You don't actually have to be a member. I mean, if you are a member, you know what to do. If you're not, you go to the right-hand side and you'll see the box that says, if you're not a member, click here, and they will let you in for 30 days. And you can attend classes. You can grab all kinds of recorded webinars on every subject related to real estate. There's lots you can do out there. And one of the things you can do, and you definitely should do, is locate an investor agent. These are certified investor agents. We train them. I've been investing for 35 years, and these folks are trained to know how to find the properties, analyze them, negotiate them, on or off market, doesn't matter. And many of them have also worked with foreign investors. So critical part of your team. And I tell you, I wish I had it when I first started. These guys, they're in the residential world, and they focus on investing in the residential world. So, in any case, without further ado, first off, Ivan, I really appreciate you being here on this podcast. That's a great privilege. I know you're a busy person, and we really appreciate you taking your time to do this with us.
You're welcome, Gary. My pleasure too. It's amazing to be with you here.
Thank you. Hey, if you wouldn't mind, you've got an interesting background and history and the things you're doing in the world today. So if you wouldn't mind, just start off, just tell everybody a little bit about yourself and give it, maybe paint a picture for them to see, and then we can jump into some examples and give them some stuff they can actually use.
Of course, Gary. Well, I'm an entrepreneur since I was born. I created my first company when I was 7 years old. I had my go-kart, and with that go-kart, what I will do is listen to my neighbors, and I will go to the candy store and finance the candies from the candy store person, and then for 10 cents, and then sell them for 20 cents to my neighbors. And that was my first company at 7. And then from that on, my spirit of entrepreneur, it just developed more and more.
Yeah.
And so in a point, I was developing multiple companies. One of my companies that I own in my family office is Toyota dealerships. So I have Toyota dealerships. So I come from the car background. I was trained by Toyota itself. I was in Japan multiple times and so on. And in 2009, I was in a position where I managed to have a CEO for my company in Argentina, where I was born. And I was in a position where I was thinking like, okay, now I have a CEO. Now I can just get dividends distribution. Now I need to learn how to invest the dividends.
Yeah.
Right. So in that point, I said, okay, I need to go to the markets. Like I need to learn the stock market, the Forex market. I need to learn. So I started investing into different vehicles being behind the computer. So I switched from the position of being the entrepreneur, the creation, managing, having live meetings with the clients and the employees and so on, to just being a guy behind the computer, looking at numbers and graphs going up and down and up and down and up and down. And that took a lot of life out of me.
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah.
Because a computer is not life.
Right.
Life is people. So that's life. Life is you. Life is me, right?
Yeah.
So I was just behind the computer watching these numbers, and I start feeling depressed. I start feeling that I was just playing money for money.
Yeah.
And I saw, my money grow 300%, and then the next day 50% down, the next day 60% up, and the next day it's 100% down, and then I used leverage and margin and things like that, and it was like, in a point I felt like well, this cannot be life for rich people. This cannot be life for someone that has now millions sitting in their bank account, and even that they accomplish the amount of amount of money to invest when I was very young. I thought, well, there is rich people living the same. And I started interviewing other people, and they were feeling exactly the same. So I thought for myself, and one day I said to my wife, it should be a way that we can invest, but not just invest for the money.
Yeah.
Because the entrepreneur is creating, and is having life and interacting with life. But then the investor behind the computer is losing life, kind of thing, right? So I having this conversation with my wife, and I said, I have this development that I started in real estate, which was my first development in Argentina. And it was a private neighborhood. And I am there, and I say, well, I am buying and selling these lots. But buying and selling these lots is also feel like money for money. It's just buy the lot for 50,000, sell the lot for 100,000. It's money for money. So I am one day in my car, Gary, and I am driving in my neighbor and in my private neighborhood, and this guy that is sitting in my car, which I am showing the lots, and he was introduced to me by another friend. He says to me, Ivan, this is amazing. How much are these lots? And I say, well, they are 50,000 each lot.
Yeah.
The kids in my back seat, they start saying, Daddy, 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 we want to live here. Daddy, Daddy, we want to live here. And when the kids are saying that, the dad comes out of the car and he tells me, Ivan, I cannot afford $50,000 lot. I cannot. And I say, well, can you get a loan from the bank? And the guy says, no, I am not approved for a loan in the bank. I have, credit card debt. I have a student loan. I missed a payment on my car a few months ago. I am not qualified. So I say, well, but your kids love this lot. I understand, he says, but I cannot afford this because the situation is that I live paycheck by paycheck. And I say, okay, but can you give me how much can you put down? And he says, no, Ivan, no 50%, no 40%, nothing. I cannot. Oh, okay. Okay, I say that's too bad. Okay. Okay, thank you very much. See you later. So I go back to my home. It was a Thursday night, and I am in the shower, and I am taking a shower. And that in the shower, great ideas sometimes come. So I am in the shower, and this God revelation happens, and it says it was like PhilanthroInvestor, and I see the word PhilanthroInvestor.
I like it.
And it's this mock-up or vision that God gives me, and he tells me, Ivan, in the future, no many casinos will be existing. people will not be throwing money away just trying to play in the stock market and see if they win or lose. And it will not be that way. The conscious level of humanity will raise. And as you see, Ivan, every year there is more non-profits coming up. Every single year, like there is more non-profits today than ever in the history. Why? Because the conscious level for help of the humanity on being responsible of what you do with your money is raising and raising and raising every single day in the planet. So he gives me this word, PhilanthroInvestor. And then I said, I got an idea. I called the guy, Andres, the next morning, and I said, it was a Friday, and I say, Andres, let me ask you a question. How much money can you pay per month to own the lot? Well, he says, maybe $300. And I said, well, I have good news for you. The lot is yours. What? He says, what? Yes, the lot is yours. You will start paying $300 a month from next month. I will do a seller financing deal with no down payment. And then you will pay your lot in 15, 20 years. And then there is only one condition. You need to come with your family tomorrow, Saturday, to the lot, okay, with your entire family. And you need to be willing to do some things that I will ask you to do there. Well, what is that, Ivan? Okay, you just come with your family. I will have the land contract, the seller financing agreement ready, and we will go into contract.
Okay.
So I arrived the next morning, and I see the whole family. And then when I see the whole family there, I ask them to plant a tree together, and I put 2 torches with the green ribbon, and they cut the green ribbon. And then that's how PhilanthroInvesting started. I was the first PhilanthroInvestor, and that was my first client as a PhilanthroInvestor, where I was allowing a family to own their own place.
Right.
Without having the necessity of qualifying for a traditional mortgage, right?
Right.
So that was it, Gary.
Yeah.
And that's how PhilanthroInvesting started down in Argentina.
Okay. Yeah. What's interesting is my family, one of my uncles and my aunt and his wife were both working for the Associated Press years ago, and their first foreign assignment was Argentina when we were all children. And they came back with a lot of artifacts and collectibles and things like that. Beautiful country, beautiful people, and obviously entrepreneurial, and you're a product of that. And I'm amazed at the fact that your first business was when you were 7 years old. So fast forward here. So PhilanthroInvestors, I've learned more about you, of course, and spoken to one of the folks on your team about what you're doing at least across the U.S. when it comes to helping people buy, get homes and working through investors and things like that. So take us forward now. So that was your first example. That was sort of your pilot, or the inspiration for this, and it's now grown, and it's a wonderful program. So would you mind kind of walking us through that transition and how I went from that one example to the entity that it is now that serves so many?
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
So in 2010, my wife sits with me and says, Ivan, this model, it seems the PhilanthroInvestor, it seems something that can be big. And if we want to make it worldwide, everybody copies what happened in the US. So we need to, the bad and the good, every country goes and copy what happens in the US. And we need to see if we move this model to the US, how it will be. Let's go and test it. So we fly to the US, and I start attending real estate seminars in 2010. Okay. And I go to one in Arizona, in Scottsdale. I go to another one in San Diego. I go to another one in Tampa. And I start learning real estate in the US. And I say, to my wife, I don't think that this model will work in the US, because in the US, everybody owns their home. The US is the American dream, is the country of the American dream. Every single family owns their home. So this model will not work there. Well, when I arrived to the US, I started learning more and more. And I learned that in the home ownership rates ranking, and the ranking of home ownership rates, of the highest home ownership rates in the world, the US is position number 43.
Wow. Yeah.
And I learned that only 64% of the families in the US, of the households, are owned by families, and 36% do not. Yeah. And I learned that more than 50% of the families do not qualify for a traditional mortgage.
Yeah.
So when I learned all of that, I continue doing my research, and in 2014, I launched my first philanthropy investing company, housing philanthropy investing company in the US, Equity and Help.
Okay.
Because I realized that investors, why they invest in real estate, and what's the most around real estate is equity. So I thought, I'm going to give equity to investors, but also equity to families.
Yeah.
From day number one, I said, an investor will have equity from day number one. So they will access the property below the value, and the families will have equity from day number one, because the investors will sell these homes to the families below the after repair value. So they will have equity from day number one.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. And then I said, another factor which is very important is human beings wants to help others.
Right.
Because it's our nature. So I say equity, you can equity and you can help at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how Equity and Help was born, with the slogan, grow your capital while helping families own their home.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the story. Just to give you the short background on what that company is right now. After 7 years, we have investors in 14 countries.
Okay.
We have $46 million of assets that we have recovered from banks or auction houses that otherwise will be abandoned homes. Right. The entire portfolio is performing 11.14% for an average, but having an average of 8 to 12% for the one different PhilanthroInvestors. We have created this very unique model, Gary, because another thing that I also realized is the responsibility connected to investing, and the concept of passive income being used, connected to financial freedom, but being used wrongly. Yeah. Using the word freedom wrongly. I will explain to you more about it. So if we look at the word freedom, what freedom actually means? Yeah. Freedom is not connected at all to being sitting in your own couch and doing nothing and receiving monthly checks. That's not freedom at all. Right. So how you can connect freedom with being sitting in your home in a couch, or being sitting in the beach doing nothing and just receiving a check coming every single month to your house? That's not true. Freedom is connected to being alert of your environment. Freedom is connected to having purpose. Freedom is connected to being engaged with what you are doing. Yeah. Freedom is connected to having fulfillment, not just receiving money, but having fulfillment for what you are doing. Like freedom is like when we are fighting for freedom in America with our Constitution. That's the picture of freedom. So, but you have many promotional in the investment world saying financial freedom, get passive income. Let us do the work for you. Let us do the work for you. Let us do everything. You don't make any decisions. You are not involved at all. We give you financial freedom. But if we lose your money, now all that you have to say is that you didn't was responsible at all, that they lose your money, and that they are the responsibles and they are the fault. And now you are, blaming the other people that lose your money.
Yeah.
How can be, Gary, that responsibility very low equals freedom and happiness? It's not. It's the opposite.
Yeah.
So I created this concept, which is housing philanthropy investing, a turnkey business where you become the CEO of your portfolio and where you have the decision power on what houses you want to buy, of what you want to do with the family that is not paying on time, and so on. And this is the housing philanthropy investing model, where you can grow your capital while helping families own their home with equity help. It's an Inc. 500 company for 3 years in a row, and the number 3 fastest growing company in Florida.
Wow. That's impressive. So you mentioned the office in Florida, but for PhilanthroInvestors in equity and help, can we do that? Can investors participate in this anywhere in the U.S.? Or there are certain states that you generally focus on, so as far as geographically, where all can investors participate?
Well, geographically, all investors can participate in 32 states right now. So, but this is the key thing. If you look the difference between a landlord and a lender, because I don't know if you know, but there is 6 investor hats, and by hat I mean type of activity.
Okay.
So when you are an investor, you have the entrepreneur who is an investor creating his own company and putting his own money, right?
Yeah.
You have the leaser, which I call the leaser, which is that person that leases assets, right?
Okay.
You have the lender, who is that investor that lend using the asset. You have the enhancer, who is the one that takes an asset and enhances it and then makes money off enhancing it. You have the trader, which is the guy that is taking the asset and trading the asset for a different asset or for cash, right? Which is a different asset also. And just it's a trader. And then you have the holder, which is an investor that buys the asset and holds that asset for a long time for appreciation, right?
Okay.
So now in all that hats, right? If you use the leaser hat, and this is part of my book that is coming out very soon, Gary, the Housing Philanthropy Investing book.
Okay.
And so these 6 different hats you have. And then the leaser and the lender are that 2 different hats there that play in real estate a lot.
Okay.
And of course you have the enhancer also. But the leaser, you asked me for geographical location.
Yeah.
But the leaser and the lender think very differently.
Yeah.
The leaser wants to have these homes in the place where he lives. He wants to buy this multifamily. He wants to be in control, and he wants to go and see, that this multifamily is fine, and he wants to touch his asset. He wants to have the contractors in the area and so on. Well, that's the landlords, and that's having the headaches of a landlord. What about if I show you a way where geographic does not really matter?
Okay.
Similar to how a bank thinks. Chase doesn't matter, or Bank of America doesn't matter where they lend. They lend across the US, right?
Yeah.
And the owner of Chase and the owner of Bank of America and the shareholders or even the executives, they never go one day to Chase to see how that homes look.
Right.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So now the lender have the ability through equityandhealth.com and Housing PhilanthroInvesting to just pick houses across the US, starting from a minimum of 3 and starting from a minimum of 135,000 each investment, which is 45,000 per home. But that homes have an ARV of 250,000, but they're buying for 135, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they will then sell to these families for 150, 160, the 3 homes. So there is capital gains for everybody, and they will become the lender, and they will become the bank.
Okay.
And this is where the philanthropic area comes. Instead of them buying the homes for 135, the 3 homes, or let's take one example, for 45,000 a home, instead of buying it for 45, putting 10,000 in their pocket and selling the home for 70,000.
Yeah.
No, they buy the home for 45,000. There is a prehab which has already been done by Equity and Health, and then we sell that house to a family for 55,000 or 50,000, and then we pass that equity to the family from day number 1.
Okay. Yeah.
That's the philanthropic part of the model. You are passing away equity.
Yeah. It's a great concept, and I know it's working because I've looked into this. It's working, in many places, but because of what you're doing. And so really what happens is the underlying investor, they make money. The person who wants to actually own the home and live there, they're making money. There's enough to go around. It's an abundance mindset versus a scarcity mindset,
Yes.
And it takes away really a lot of people say they don't want to get into investing in real estate because they don't want to manage tenants. They don't want to deal with all the headaches. But here, they actually really don't do that. It's a way to really be more passively involved and yet participate in the profit. It's a brilliant idea, and I'm just thrilled that it's working. So is there an example? You have a case study, like the underlying investor, the homeowner, the house, what the price was, and I know you just gave the example of the house could be 250,000 with ARV, and yet they can maybe buy it. Someone can buy it for 135 and then give it to the homeowner for 160. So it sounds like there's still plenty of room there. But what actually happens is someone was to call the office and they'll say, "Hey, I'm a dentist. I'm really busy. I run a dental practice. I do want to invest in real estate, but boy, I just don't have the time to be running around and doing all taking care of those responsibilities." So what would that look like? Well, if like from the moment someone calls you to where they're actually, profiting from this, and someone has the home, it's this. If you have one to share, I know you have to probably change the names because this is a public podcast, but an example, that would be amazing if you could share a specific example,
No, of course, Gary. And let me just correct something on what you said before.
Okay.
There's no an underlying investor in this case. There is an overlying. There is a supervising investor.
Okay.
Okay. And this is not passive. This requires the investor to be engaged. And this requires the investor to be the CEO of his own housing portfolio. This requires him to have once a month meeting with our housing PhilanthroInvestor consultant to make key decisions. And that's very good because that gives freedom to the dentist or to the engineer or to the medical doctor, because he just set up 20 minutes a month, but he feels in control. He has knowledge of what's going on. We have a report that we are sharing with them every single month of what is happening with their housing portfolio so they can make key decisions. And now clarifying that, and that's a very unique model, is instead of being that passive guy, the underlying investor, no, Become the CEO of your housing real estate portfolio. Be in control, make the key decisions, receive the fulfillment that comes from your philanthropy investing. Not just, hey, here's the money, give me money back. No. So with that said, if you allow me to share a screen, I can share a testimonial from one of our philanthropy investors in just 1 minute, if that's fine with you.
Yeah, you should have I think I made you co-host, so you should have the ability to use the share function.
So if you allow me to do that, that will be awesome, because I can literally share with you different testimonials from our philanthropy investors, and in that way you will get to see them. Give me just a second here. Sure. And I will share screen right now.
Okay.
My name is Kim Bellotti, and I am basically an entrepreneur. Done a little tiny bit of real estate, and it really is how to get the right numbers. The object is to make sure you're not going to lose money. And so the fret over that, it kind of freezes you into really moving forward. I'm just telling anybody who might be thinking about investing with this company, you can pick the amount of money that you want to give it over to the company. They will sit down with you. They'll let you see the houses. You can pick whatever you want. The second that report comes to me in the email, the check is going to be in the mail a couple of days later. I get the check in the mail and I go, oh, there's another check in the mail. Great. I get a little bit excited about the families in the homes, because my girl in Equity and Help that markets my houses for me, she sends me the photos. Like if I have a family that never would have been able to buy a house otherwise is moving into one of my houses, they're fixing it up, they're sending her photos. We just put these bushes in the backyard. Look at the roses. We painted new flooring, and she forwards that all to me. So I get to see the happiness of all of that. So the purpose of Equity and Help from me is to make everybody win, from the company to the investor to the family moving into the house to the property even. I mean, it's just every aspect, there's some improvement, and it's fair across all of them. It's like there's a nice profit for the company, there's a nice profit for me, there's a good home for the person moving in. They will have a great investment. In the future, the equity of the house will go up for them. It's just across the boards, it just works for everybody. Nobody loses.
Very nice. Yeah.
Yes. So that's Gary, what I was trying to communicate to you. You see, our philanthropy investors are engaged. They know what's going on. They select the houses. They see the pictures they receive the fulfillment that is coming. It's not receiving cash flow. Kim, in this example, she is a philanthropy investor for 5 years now. She has been with us for 5 years. She is receiving not only the cash flow, but she's receiving fulfilling cash flow, which is not the same.
Right. That's right.
You see?
Yeah. So
that's an example. And then I can also share some example of a family, if you want, like on the other side, what the family is experiencing. Would you like that?
Sure. Let's do that too. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So let me see. I have it here. Second. So yeah, because being on the side of the family is the end product of our company, and that's what we are doing, and so on. So, and just also to clarify something else, Gary, it's not that each house is a 135,000 house. No.
Yeah.
With 135,000, they buy 3 houses. The philanthropy investor buys 3 houses for 45,000 each, and then we will sell that house to a family for 55,000, or maybe between 50 and like 20% more normally.
Okay.
But that house has an ARV of 70,000. So everybody has equity from day number 1. You see?
Yeah.
So let me see if I can have. So we have this. Our DBA on the face of a family is easy homes. So the investors invest through equity and help, and our families interact with Easy Homes, which is our DBA for the families, facing the family side. Okay, so you will see that now, and let me see this.
We've been here for
almost 3 years.
3 years. 3 years?
Yeah.
3 years. 3 years. And it's home. It feels like home. This is home. And we still, and the most fun part is we still got stuff with things that we want to do. Be more creative, turn this into that, move this around, we live all around, South Boston, Virginia, and then Philly. It feels good to be able to call your house a home. You know what I mean? And it's a difference. It's a very big difference to be able to paint a wall green if you like, or paint a wall brown or tan or whatever, which I have a lot of colors going on. So I work for families, taking care of their loved ones. And Harry is building maintenance. He's been with his company for 26 years. So that comes in handy with this house too, his building maintenance knowledge. I've heard of in-house financing. You can see it on the internet when you go searching for like different things, but I've never heard of a program like this. That's the difference between trying to find a landlord to work with you so you can have a place to stay versus a whole company.
Right.
You know what I mean? That specializes in helping home people who most likely wouldn't be able to get a traditional mortgage. Mm-hmm. So you know what I mean? And to help them actually be homeowners. But yeah, it was a fun experience. The game room came from the 17-year-old. I tried to be colorful. We called one room the gold room, one room the red room. So that came from my daughter. So, and then we kind of got carried away with it. Thank you. Thank you so much.
That's a great example. That's the fulfillment, such an important part of everything we do. I know in the early days when I was in the corporate world, as part of investing, I was not getting that fulfillment. And it led to me retiring at the age of 40 from the corporate work because I just couldn't, felt like I was dying spiritually there. And then with the properties, I found out if I can share them with refugee families from, places like Bosnia in the late 90s and Burma and Nepal in the mid 2000s, late 2000s, that's what really brought everything full circle. That's why I was so intrigued when I found you and found out what you were doing. And I'm so grateful you're on the podcast here. And I do have I know we're getting close on time here, but another question is, everybody's now talking about timing because they feel like we're, getting near to this bubble of this current economy, the marketplace, particularly in real estate, where prices have been going up, people are outbidding each other, just it's a different environment. But nobody knows, nobody has a crystal ball. But what can you share with people, if you don't mind sharing, when it comes to investing and helping others buy homes in a market like today?
Yes, Gary. I also I see what you're saying, and I will say that everybody that wants to learn about philanthroinvesting and housing philanthroinvesting, they should come to pi.today. That's pi.today.
Okay.
And that will direct them through our philanthroinvesting website, and they will be able to take. When they come, they will be able to learn much more about our different programs, but they also will have the ability to get what we call their PhilanthroInvestor analysis, which will give them a score and a graph that shows exactly what in 10 different areas in their life, in their investing life, how they are doing and how much better they can be doing.
Okay.
So that's a very unique tool that is a $1,000 tool that if you want to have it and so on, but we will give it for free to your listeners. that wants to come and get it. So pi.today, and that's basically the knowledge there, and they will be able to expand much more, Gary, and it will be absolutely great in the sense of seeing how they can attain true financial freedom, not just cash flow and capital growth, but much more other things. And if they want to also research more on the housing philanthropy investing, they can go to equityandhelp.com, and they can go to Equity and Help, search for the Equity and Help channel in YouTube. There is plenty of videos, testimonials from families, from different philanthropy investors. There is the model explained, videos that explain the model and so on more deeply. They can book a meeting with a housing philanthropy investing consultant. They can have a discovery call, which is a presentation that will take them through the more details. They can ask any questions and get to see if they qualify for be a philanthropy investor, because everybody can be an investor, but not everybody is a philanthropy investor.
Right.
So Equity and Help, when you open your account and you onboard, you go through the onboarding, they will ask you 24 questions, and they go through a qualification process to see if you really qualify, if this is a good match, if this will be a win-win, right? So I invite you to experience that for yourself, because it will not only improve your financial life possible, but will also give you a different viewpoint for life and take you into another level spiritually, in my viewpoint, is how I see it, right?
Yes. Yeah. Well, let's do this. I know we probably went over a little bit, but that's okay. It's just been such a interesting subject, and one of my favorite podcasts too, by the way. So, but what's a good next step for people, for the listeners? We should probably go over the websites again and the tool you were speaking of, so they know, because some people listening are going to be in their cars. And everybody listening to this will also all be on the show notes, the websites and so forth. But if you wouldn't mind, Ivan, can you go over the websites again for everyone?
Yes, pi.today. If you want to come to PhilanthroInvestors website, which shows you not only the housing philanthropy investing, but other areas in the world that we are also helping, like water and the environment, for the plastics that are tons of millions of plastics that go into the ocean every year, or improving water quality in the world, etc. We have programs for philanthropy investors to build what I call the philanthropy investing portfolio. So you can have, 135,000 or 150,000 in housing. You can have 100,000 with water, and 50,000 with environment, and so on, and etc. So you can learn about that, and you can get your philanthropy investing analysis done for free for you. pi.today. And if you feel like, okay, no, I am all over only real estate, I just want to go in housing and start helping families become a housing philanthropy investor, become a private lender using the Equity and Help model, just go to equityandhelp.com and just share with the team there when you arrive that you listen to my podcast with Gary Wilson and you want to be onboarded and receive a discovery call in equityandhelp.com. And that's basically it. And I am always here also available to help you. If you want to contact me, you can learn more about me at ivanenns.com. You can even download the first chapter of my book that's coming out in ivanenns.com. And that's basically it, Gary.
Okay, so that's ivanenns.com. That's ivanenz.com.
Yes.
And then, yeah. So I tell you what, this has been a lot of fun, and I appreciate you sharing so much and giving people a place to go to research more and contact you. So in any case, pi.today.
That's the main website.
Yeah.
Yes.
So for everybody listening, please take advantage of this. I've met people in Ivan's organization, so I've fully endorsed this. It's a great way to help people become homeowners. And it truly is prosperity through service. You're serving others and you're prospering as a result. So for everyone, we will see you next week. In the meantime, make sure you go to their website, realestatewithgarywilson.com. Go into the members area free for 30 days and grab all you can get. There's 5 free books. There's a number of things you can do. And subscribe to the podcast. And for you, Ivan, and for everyone listening, God bless you and your families. And we will see you on the next Massive Passive Cash Flow podcast. We'll see you then.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Massive Passive Cash Flow. Be sure to go to realestatewithgarywilson.com to join our community and start building wealth today.